Welcome to this Bridgeworks Support video, in which you will learn how to connect FTP clients to remote FTP servers using WANrockIT acceleration. To use FTP with WANrockIT, the client and server hosts can be located in any on-prem or co-location environment. Server hosts can also be located in Amazon Web Services EC2. Before setting up your WANrockIT FTP connection, ensure the nodes at your FTP client and server sites have been deployed and a WANrockIT connection has been established between the two. To deploy each of your nodes, see the videos for deploying an AWS instance or deploying a WANrockIT or CSP node using vSphere client as appropriate. To connect your nodes, see the videos for connecting to on-prem nodes or connecting two nodes on-prem to AWS as appropriate. Links for these videos are available in the description. This video will cover how WANrockIT acceleration for FTP works, the different network configurations you can use for FTP acceleration, confirming your node's FTP port mappings, configuring the network interfaces for your client node, and finally, designating FTP servers for which traffic should be accelerated. In a standard remote FTP client server setup, the client resides on one LAN connected to a router and the server is on another LAN connected to a router. Both routers are connected through the internet and the client makes requests to the server. With WANrockIT acceleration, the setup works as follows. The client-side node bridges the FTP client to its LAN, handling network communication to and from the client. The server-side node is simply connected on the same LAN as the FTP server. Non-FTP traffic from the client passes through the client-side node unaltered. When FTP traffic intended for a designated remote server is detected, the packets are intercepted and rerouted to the server-side node using an accelerated WANrockIT connection. The server-side node will then reassemble the WANrockIT traffic back into FTP packets and send them to the intended server. On the client LAN, the WANrockIT node can be placed directly in front of an FTP client. In this configuration, all traffic to and from one client is bridged through the node. An alternative is to place the node directly behind the router. In this configuration, all traffic into and out of the local network is bridged through the node. The advantage of this configuration is that it allows multiple clients on the network to use acceleration through a single client-side node. It also avoids internal network traffic being bridged through the node. The node can also be placed in front of any isolated subsection of the network for which you wish to use FTP acceleration. In all scenarios, it is very important that the node's FTP and WAN ports are isolated from one another. Otherwise, a network loop will occur. If the node is on a virtual platform such as ESXi, ensure promiscuous mode is enabled on the virtual machine host. This ensures traffic is passed through to the node's WAN port. Additionally, the FTP servers should be on a subnet which is unused on the client network to ensure FTP traffic is routed to the server side. Make sure the topologies of your client and server networks are implemented correctly before continuing. Navigate to the web interface for the node at your client site. Enter the username admin and then your password to log in to the node. Navigate to the port mappings page by clicking on the corresponding icon. Ensure that your chosen interface has the FTP client feature mapped to it. If not, add it from the protocol dropdown and hit save. Now do the same for the node at the server site, but this time make sure the FTP server feature is mapped to your chosen interface. If any mapping changes are made on either node, that node will require a reboot for changes to take effect. Next, go back to the client-side node's web interface and return to the home screen. Navigate to the Network Connections page by clicking on the corresponding icon. Click on the port which has the FTP client feature assigned. Select the Enable Pass-Through checkbox, then choose the target WAN port from the drop-down below. Then click Save. At this point, make absolutely sure that the FTP client port and the WAN port on the node are isolated from one another. When you are certain of this, reboot the node. When the node has rebooted, the FTP client port will pass through all traffic to the WAN port. Now return to the server-side node. From the home screen, go to the FTP server page by clicking on the corresponding icon. If an alert appears stating that no nodes are configured, this may be because the client-side node is still re-establishing its connection after rebooting. Dismiss the alert, then wait a few seconds and refresh the page. When the connection is successfully re-established, the client-side node's hostname will appear in the relationships table. Click Add Server to bring up a dialog. Enter the internal IP address of an FTP server you wish to connect to. You can also supply the TCP port number this server uses if it is different from the default of 21. Click Add, then select the checkbox next to the new entry. Repeat this process for each server you wish to designate. If you connect additional client-side nodes to the server-side node, they will appear in the Remote Nodes column on this page. They can each be selected for individual configuration. Click Save to apply these settings when finished. You can now access remote FTP servers using their internal IP address accelerated through the WANrockIT link.